All right. What is this? Happy Thursday, everybody. Happy Thursday, and welcome to the official first recap for Put a Ring on It season 4. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you guys for your patience. It is me, host Christal Jordan, and I'm excited to be here on a Thursday back talking about Put a Ring on It. Thank you guys for joining. I already see some exos in the chat. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Tisha. Hey, 3DNA. Hey, Bonnie. Thank you guys so much for being here. Of course, I am waiting on my co-host from across the pond, waiting on him to join. And so hopefully we were trying to make sure that we're able to stream this on both of our platforms. So you guys, please, just be patient with us. But I wanted to make sure I jumped on and let you guys know I am excited about this season. I want to hear what you guys have to say. This is totally interactive. So please make sure that the chat is on point, guys. We used to do this we've done this for the past 2 seasons on Put a Ring on It, and always had a really good time with making sure that we're talking about everything from the season. This is the entire new season because, as you guys saw last week, hey Muwadi XOXO, thank you guys so much for joining. So this season is all new. It's all new. We Put a Ring on It because they have brought in a new host. So they brought in a new host. It is a good girlfriend of mine, Miss Stacii Jae. So there's Stacii. There is her promo pic for Put a Ring on It. My first thing is I want to know what you guys think about the change. Obviously, last season, you guys know Kojo and I did these conversations with Dr. Nicole. And so I was quite surprised to hear from, it's to get intel that Dr. Nicole had been replaced with Stacii Jae. Now, like I said, I've known Stacii Jae for years. She's definitely a relationship coach based here in Atlanta. I know she has a lot of roots in the DC area as well. But I actually was surprised to see them make such a huge change. Now, I let's just get into this. And I know when Kojo joins, if he's able to join us today, he'll give us his take on it. But I'm going to tell you guys from a point, since we're not doing this, we don't have to do this with on supervising this season, so which is a great thing because we can just 100% be honest. But last season, you guys know we were all a part of that drama. We had Shorty. Matt came on the show. We did an exclusive with her, and she talked about, the fact that she really didn't think the show handled her situation appropriately. And there were a lot of other comments about the way Dr. Nicole handled, some of the other situations. Even I know some of the other couples, there was some feedback as well. So I don't know for certain that is why they chose to, refresh everything and bring in Stacii. But I would have to assume, especially because the situation with Shorty Mac and Kenneth was so serious. When you're talking about potentially having a domestic violence situation happening, that is not anything to play with. And I think that, the show just felt like they needed to go in a different direction, which I was a fan of Dr. Nicole. I think Dr. Nicole had some very great advice. However, like I said, Stacii is my girl. And I think that Stacii is going to do great with this show because she does a great job of really, number one, I agree with Kathy. She has a no nonsense approach. And as we saw in this first episode, Stacii is definitely going to call people, she's going to call people out. A lot of times these shows, the experts don't really get in there. They do a lot of dancing around the subject. I don't necessarily think Dr. Nicole danced around subjects, but I do think Stacii has a much more direct approach. And I think she's going to definitely call the women out and the men out. So I think there's going to be a lot more accountability on both sides. I think it's good for the show. I did like Dr. Nicole. I think Dr. Nicole had a lot of wisdom, but sometimes you just need somebody to get up in your stuff, right? And I think that Stacii is going to do a great job this season. I think we're going to see the show become a lot different because she's not going to let things go. I feel like even in this first episode, we saw her cut right to the chase and go right to the point, right? This is what it is and this is what I see. So anyway, I would love to hear what you guys think about the change in the direction. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to bring Kojo in, but if this show will go on and you guys can be my co-host while he's not here. But I love Stacii Jae. I think she's going to bring new, fresh life, and like I said, I think she's going to, really, really, really go in. A lot of times last season, people really were upset because some people were able to get away with some stuff. And like I said, there was a situation with Shorty and Kenneth that really was, had the potential to be really dangerous. And so if you're in a position where you are a therapist, I know Stacii is just about has her license. And I know Dr. Nicole didn't want to be called a therapist. She was a dating coach. But I almost think in this situation, we really need someone who is a licensed, is a licensed therapist and is able to bring that perspective. But I would assume, Dee, that it definitely had something to do with some of the feedback from last season, because I don't know if you guys heard, but there was a lot of people really unhappy about how things played out. Especially with the Shorty Mac and Kenneth situation, because of the potential threat of domestic violence. And then even Otis and I cannot think of the girl's name right now, but they even had some issues, with saying that, it wasn't handled correctly. And that, trust me, OWN is definitely listening to that feedback from the viewers. It is not falling on deaf ears. So anyway, I'm excited about Stacii. You guys let me know what you think about Stacii Jae, bringing her brand of authenticity to the show. I think it's going to be a good thing. But let's get into these couples, because we know a big part of Put a Ring on It is really seeing couples in a like at the end of a road, like a fork. They're at a fork in the road in the relationship. And this show is going to tell them, do they need to stay together or do they need to split up? Yes, Charlie and Otis. Thank you, Dee. Thank you, Casey Johnson. I could not think of her name. It was on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, Charlie and Otis. But they're still together and they have their little baby. They're still together. But I know that they really felt like a lot of things behind the scenes were done that they didn't like. They didn't like how it was handled. So, in any case, jobs come and go. There's good fits and then there's not. But we're moving on to talk about the first couple. Now, it's funny because the first couple is actually probably the most explosive couple. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these pictures up and we're going to get into it, guys. So the first couple, of course, we have is Dunbar and Chance. Dunbar and Chance, or they were the most explosive couple on the first episode. I think Dunbar is funny, very charismatic, but that also was the couple where there were some, some pretty big red flags. It's interesting because with Dunbar and Chance, it's opposite of how you usually see it, right? So usually we see the situation where the woman is wanting to get married. And that's actually the case with the other two couples. The woman wants to get married. The woman is pressuring the guy, or at least saying, hey, it's, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? But in this case, it's reversed. And actually Dunbar is saying that he feels like they need to take things to the next level. He is not happy with the relationship as it is. He wants to move to the next level. He wants Chance to be more, domestic and he wants them to take it to the next level to where she's more in the house and they're in more traditional roles. So let's check out this really quick clip and then let's talk about what happened on this debut episode for season 4 of Put a Ring on It.
Literally goes into like Superman mode and carries me through the emergency room doors.
She had a situation where she had to get her appendix taken out.
He is literally one of the most compassionate.
Okay, so that clip I thought was important because this couple, the tone was set to me on their very first date. Their very first date, Chance actually ends up in the hospital and has to have her appendix taken out. And that is like, usually you don't expect the person that you go through something like that with on a first date to end up being the person that you're in a relationship with for this long, right? That is because I would assume if I was on a date with somebody that I had just met and I end up going to the hospital, I'm telling them goodbye, or they're going to make sure I'm okay. And then I'm going to call in family, friends, and they're going to be the ones that actually like, look out for me. But in this case, Dunbar was there and it actually, drew them closer, but it set a tone. Like I said, for their relationship, it set a tone because he is more of the caretaker. He is definitely the leader in the relationship. Chance is more of a free spirit. And she mentioned she likes being out. She's not ready to have kids. She's not ready to settle down. You guys, Kathy says that he is this, this couple is a hot mess. He is very controlling. And Dee says, I think he was playing for the cameras. I definitely think that he was playing for the cameras a lot. Dunbar is a former professional football player, right? So we know professional football players, and this is my personal take on professional athletes, guys. And you guys let me know what you think. So professional athletes have been in the public eye from the time usually they were very little, right? They have been celebrated for a long time. They have been always, because usually, if you're a professional football player, you didn't just get good at sports in college. You've been probably good from the time you were very young. So usually there's a different type of like confidence, right? A different type of self-awareness because that person is used to being, celebrated. They're used to being catered to from the time they're very, very young. And so that creates a certain type of personality. It can be a little bit confident. It could be a little bit cocky, a little bit arrogant. But I will say that the thing about athletes is different than people that find success in other ways. Like if you become, successful from your job and earn a lot of money, or even if you're an entertainer, that, there's hard work that goes in, but athletes are usually very disciplined. They're usually very structured, right? Because they have to be in order to be as successful as they are in their field. When you think about successful athletes of any type, football players is a tenth of the population that makes it to professional sports. So those people are very, very hard workers. They're very disciplined and they're very structured. And like I said, they're used to being talented. They're used to being catered to from a very young age. So it did not surprise me that Dunbar had all the charisma in the world and was definitely playing to the cameras. Some of that I definitely felt like, even with the conversation before we got to the date, because I know we're going to talk about the date. I know y'all want to talk about that date where he acted a fool. But even before that, when they introduced themselves and they were talking amongst them, the other couples and Stacii Jae and Dr. Stacii, he was still playing for the cameras. He's got charisma and he is used to having the attention on himself, right? Now, my thing with Chance is she knows all that. I think that he is controlling or has some controlling ways, but I think that she also knows what she's doing. I don't think that she is at all under his thumb, right? Because she's very outspoken. She knows what she wants. And it's that challenge in Chance that makes him attracted to her and has him wanting to get to her. Trust me, Dunbar, regardless of what where he's at right now, he probably has had his pick of women, and he probably would not want to be with a woman that would just do exactly what he says. He talked about, I want to smell the house and smell food or smell the house to smell good. I want my feet rubbed. I want all this stuff. But trust me, if Chance was just running behind him, he would not be as intrigued as he is. He loves the fact that she has her own mind, and it's a little bit of a challenge for him. That is a part of the attraction. I also do not think that I'm not sure. I think that she's comfortable in her space. I always wonder, and this is what was one of my concerns for this season, because I feel like some of the couples that we've seen in the past have really been more about being on TV, especially not last season, but the season before. I didn't believe any of that. Like a lot of them couples, we know they're literally trying to cater to the TV to have a good story so that they get great exposure. It's an opportunity to be on TV and to be talked about and get opportunities. But these couples, I do believe, especially the other two couples, Dunbar and Chance, I'm not really sure. I think time remains to be seen if they really are, going to really do want the help, to get to the next level. We'll see that. We'll see later. It looks like there are some opportunities for Dunbar to let go of some of that BS, some of that charisma, some of that bravado, and actually get real. But the great thing about it, I think Dr. Stacii is going to really challenge him. So let's talk about the date. They started out the first episode with the girls going on dates. So Chance goes on a date. The guy that she goes on a date with, he was younger, and that's the truth. Someone mentioned earlier, Casey mentioned that, there's a 10-year age difference between the two. So them setting Chance up on a date with someone that was younger for the things that she's complaining about makes sense. But I don't believe that she really wants to be with someone that is younger, because you guys see the difference. And I think she and the guy that she went on the date with were a lot closer in age. However, they were definitely not matched. Yeah, 4 hours, not 5. So they were definitely not matched. He seemed very, very immature in comparison to Dunbar, right? And the fact that he allowed Dunbar to talk to him like that was proof, right? And it irritated me. Hey, Mimi, it irritated me that Dunbar would son him like that. As I'm watching, I'm like, oh my God, why is he allowing Dunbar to talk to him like that? He's given a prayer. He tells him, bring me back some food. Are you kidding me? Like, bring me back some food, dude. Who are you talking to? Like, another guy that was a little bit older, a little bit more mature, a little bit more sure of himself would never, ever have allowed Dunbar to treat him like that. Of course, you're going on the show, that you are potentially going to be meeting the other, the significant other of your date. But the fact that he kind of just laid down and let Dunbar do that, I was like, seeing that, I knew she was not going to have a connection with him. There's no possible way, because Dunbar was low-key disrespectful, I feel. You guys let me know what you think. Very, very much low-key disrespectful that he would need to do all of that. The prayer, the threatening prayer at the end, it was just way too much. And even when he brought her back, he was acting like an ass. It was just too much. It was not. And again, I don't think that he was serious. I do think he was acting for the camera. But still, that's still somebody that you're being disrespectful to, right? These is, I think, production must have told Phil to take Dunbar food back from the restaurant. I don't know, but you know what? Even if production tells you to do that, you don't have to do that, right? You don't have to do that. So I would have been like, no, I promise you. Men, I know there's no way they would let production or the other man put them in that position to look like that on camera, right? That just doesn't make sense. And on shows like this, the reality TV, they are not scripted, and production may suggest certain things, but no, I don't believe that he didn't have to do that. It made him look crazy, and it was totally unnecessary. But I still feel like, even if production did tell him to do that, for Dunbar to go out of his way to do all that was really unnecessary, and it was disrespectful. So I just, I was really glad that Dr. Stacii really, he was playing around with it and thought it was cute, but she really held his feet to the fire, and even Chance's. And if you guys notice, the reason that I think that someone in the chat said that, oh, Miss Iffy says Dunbar and Chance are here for the 5 minutes of fame. They both play for the camera. I honestly may agree with you, and I will tell you why. Because Chance had no problem with him being disrespectful, right? Now, we know that some women feel like it's cool for their man to act like that, right? And they don't have empathy for other people. There are a lot of women like that, and I feel like that's a whole problem. But when Dr. Stacii tried to share with Chance that perhaps that was a red flag, or at the very least a yellow flag, she totally didn't want to hear it. You guys, I just heard from Kojo. We just got our times mixed up, and so he is getting home in 20 minutes, so he's going to be joining, even if it's at the very end, and then we'll make sure that next week we are on at the same time. Okay, just jump on when you get in. So anyway, the fact that Chance was cool with it, and totally shot it down. Like she wasn't even open to hearing Dr. Stacie's suggestion that maybe that was not something that was out of pocket. She didn't want to hear that. So I feel like, number one, if he could be right, they definitely could be there for the show and just trying to manufacture some BS to stay on the show, or there really is no problem and she's cool with that. So, to me, I have a saying where if you like it, I love it. You like it, I love it. If I tell you your man is exhibiting signs or your woman is exhibiting signs that could be dangerous and you check me, consider me checked. You like it, I love it, because you cannot tell someone what they should expect for themselves. Now, the sad thing about that is later down the road, those issues and those red flags, usually come back to bite us, right? But as of right now, Chance is cool with it, right? So kudos to Dr. Stacii, Dr. Stacii Jae, for calling him out and actually like pointing out to Chance that that's not cute. But we'll see if they really are here for the right reasons and if they're really serious about, finding help. And even if they're not, like they could be here thinking that they're cool, they're just going to get some time on TV. But sometime when you're with the right person and you're forced to sit through these conversations, they may actually end up getting more help than they thought they needed, right? So I think that's an opportunity as well. Success is mine says Chance is so controlled that she doesn't even recognize it. That could be, but I just think with this couple, they've set a dynamic that they're happy with, right? Because both of them she's an alpha, he's an alpha, and she's not going to be in a situation that she's not happy. I don't see her as the type of woman that is going to allow a man to like run over her, right? I think this is a situation that she likes because it works for her right now. I think that she may not be taking it seriously that he wants something else, because he's being very clear, at least in his conversation, that he wants a more domestic woman. He wants her to do things that she's not doing. And I don't think she's really bothered by that. I think she's really clear about the fact that that's not where she wants to be. Only time will tell, if they're really open to getting help or if they're really just here for the TV. I love the fact that you guys really picked up on the fact that Chance was raised by her father, and that does create a different type of confidence in a woman. I talk a lot about that in the book. And in my book, you guys, if you do not have a copy of Dear Alpha Female, It's Not Him, It's You, make sure that you get your copy. I'll put the website up here, but a lot of that, a woman that is raised by her father, there's just a child, period, that is raised by their father is going to have a different type of confidence, right? I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's going to be different because men bring a different thing to a child's life than a woman. A woman is giving them nurturing, and a woman can make her daughter strong. But as far as that confidence and knowing I'm not going to let a man do more, that's a different thing. And that usually comes from having a man's input, right? And a man seeding into you. So I love the fact that you guys picked up on that, and she has definitely different energy. But we got to move on to the next couple. Like I said, this couple was the star of the first episode, just because Dunbar was acting a fool the entire time. Like he was showing out for the camera, and then even like we talked about on the date, he was just doing too much, to the point where I feel like, again, it was disrespectful. But we're going to move on to Ricky and Catherine. Ricky and Catherine, they have been dating for 2 years. And again, there is a bit of an age. I believe there's a bit of an age difference. I believe Ricky is definitely older. We know that he's definitely gone through a lot more of life experiences than Catherine. One of the things that really, stood out to me about this couple is I'm not really sure if Ricky is healed, right? He has been married before, right? He's been hurt before. And Catherine is looking forward to, some firsts and experiencing that with him. And he's been there, done that. So let's check out this clip of the two of them. And then let's talk a little bit about Ricky and Catherine and what you guys thought about the introduction to this couple.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
His past experience is holding us back.
I'm really not saying no to marriage. I just want to take my time. Just got to be patient.
And that's why sometimes I do question our compatibility.
Long story short, I've been through pretty much anything you could think of.
All right, so you guys see that's a little bit of clip of Ricky explaining that he'd been through a really bad relationship, a marriage, in fact. He also mentioned the fact that his ex had cheated on him. He'd been cheated on, and that is a whole bag of worms if he has not healed from that. It's interesting because, and I really wish Kojo was here, you guys that are just coming in. He texted me, he's going to try to jump on. We just got our times switched. So he should be jumping on in a few minutes. But the thing about it is, a lot of times men do not heal from situations, right? Men or women. I'm not signaling men out specifically, but I do think that women are encouraged to talk about, their heartbreak, right? So, I mean, you'd be hard pressed not to hear a woman share about how she's been cheated on, and what's happened. But men, that's not something that men readily like to talk about. That's not even something that other men really like to talk about with men. It's like, oh, you find out your dude got cheated on. It's like, okay, let's go get another girl. Like, it's not like they're like pouring into them and trying to help them build them back up. Like, that's not something that we think about with men. Usually they just go find another woman, but they deal with that pain. And when that pain doesn't, when you don't heal properly, you don't heal. You remain stagnant, right? And if you notice, he seemed, when he said, I've been through just about everything and I just want to take my time, to me, it seemed like he really isn't over that. And instead of like dealing with it, he's probably done like most men do and get into another relationship. And he's just, that relationship is not able to move to the next level. It's kind of stuck because he's stuck, right? I was talking to a friend of mine and she told me that she was talking to one of her really good guy friends. And he told her that he literally had been hurt by a girl in high school when he was like 18, getting ready to graduate, go to college. And after that, went on, got married. And now we're at this big age of being in our 40s, right? And he just got divorced and went to therapy and realized that everything that he had gone through in the last damn near 30 years all pointed back to when he was not able to heal from that situation that happened when he was 18. So I just thought that was interesting because I've talked to so many men, doing these interviews and even talking to people outside of that. A lot of times that hurt, when men give their heart, they give it differently than women. I think women, we have more chances. We give our hearts more readily. But when they really do, when it gets hurt, they need the time to heal. And a lot of times they don't take that time. They end up, getting with someone else and then not understanding why they're not able to move on. But you can look in Ricky's eyes and tell that he is not ready. He is not ready to get married. I think I agree with you, Casey. It is not up for Catherine to fix Ricky. She's not obligated to be patient. She can move on. But number one, as a woman, you guys know a lot of times we choose not to move on. The guy is telling us, I'm not able, or I don't want this, or I'm not ready for that. And we stay because we want him to change. We want him to make a difference. And we want to be the one that made a difference. And you cannot make a difference if it's not your issue. So, hold on, I'll send it in a few hours. So basically, this couple, I don't think they're nearly as problematic. I don't think Catherine, I don't believe that most of the time women come on the show and a lot of times you come on a show and even if you realize that you need to move on or you need to do something else, you want to stick it out. You want to prove to other people that you were right. Miss Iffy says Ricky should deal with the past and heal, and Catherine is the homegirl. One of the things I did like about their relationship, though, is that they do seem to have a good friendship, right? Because that's where he's able to function. He's able to be friends. But I do think that a friendship is the basis to something else. But really, that just depends on if she's going to be willing to let it go and let him deal with himself. And the reality is, if you move on from a guy that's not ready, that doesn't mean that he's going to stay and heal. He may move on to another woman. He may move on and move on and move on, but it doesn't even matter, because all that should matter is he wasn't ready for you and for what you wanted. But a lot of times you look at it and it's like, well, if I leave, he's not going to heal, because a lot of times men don't want to face that. They don't want to face the pain and actually deal with it and look at it. They want to go ahead and just, ignore the pain by hiding behind another relationship, So in any case, it'll be interesting to see if, I know Dr. Stacii Jae is going to get to the bottom of that. We saw them talk a little bit about it today, but I think that as we watch this season, we're going to see Ricky kind of pull back some of those layers, because it's very obvious, even in his body language, that he is really not comfortable with moving on and giving more of himself, right? He's not in that place. He's still stuck. So I think they're a cute couple. Do I really think that they need to stay together? I would not. I mean, it's hard to say from the first show, but from the fact of him being so clear about him being hurt, and he's, the way he said it, I just don't feel like he's ready right now. And I feel like she doesn't understand, because she hasn't gone through that. She's like, oh, just get over it and let's move on. But it's not going to be that simple for him. Table Talks says, I know this is a TV show, but I do not understand why people will not move on and get with someone who wants the same thing they want, marriage. Well, I think, honestly, probably the simple answer to that is just because you shouldn't just want marriage. You should want marriage with the right person. So maybe a lot of the people that come on this show just for this season, I'm not going to co-sign on seasons prior to last season, not really, because we know Shorty has acknowledged us, so she didn't even come on. She was coming on the show to break up with the guy. So, but let's say that you do come on the show for the right reasons, right? I don't think that I think people find a person that they like, and they try to make that person be what they want, as opposed to doing what you're suggesting and table talk and really waiting for a person that's ready for you, right? I think that's hard for a lot of us to do. So in any case, if you guys are just joining, make sure that you like this conversation and subscribe. Like I said, Kojo is going to be hopefully jumping on in a few minutes, and we will make sure to get our times fixed for next time, because I definitely love the fact that both of us have a male and female perspective on this. And that's what makes, I think, our recap so effective when Owen asked us to start doing them a couple of years ago, because we see, you have a balance of both male and female. But I think with this couple, time will tell. But I do feel like Catherine is a lot more immature, right, than Ricky, which can work if he heals, because she doesn't have some of the baggage that he has. But then also he may not be able to be where she wants him to be in time. And if that's the case, then she should move on, because we know that there's always somebody else out there. We just get kind of stuck when we're in a relationship and you want what you want. But the reality is sometimes what we want is just not the best for us. So we're going to move on to the next couple. We're going to move on to our next couple, which is Joya and Joshua, which is hilarious because their names were like almost the same, which I was like, that's weird. But they're interesting. They're cute. Let me get their picture up here. Joya and Joshua, very, very attractive couple. I thought they were really cute. He's very handsome. She's adorable. The two of them look good together. I'm not really sure what the major issues are here. They seemed like they have a little bit of the ability to be kind of petty, which we saw a lot with Charlie and Otis. Maybe not quite as petty, but it just felt like petty vibes when we first were introduced to them. Let's check out this clip, and then let's talk a little bit more about Joya and Joshua.
We love to travel.
We've been to Dubai, we've been to Thailand,
Mexico, Amsterdam. but I think that we should be married by now. I'm ready for our relationship to just grow and have children together. I'm ready for that.
That's nice.
Okay, so with this couple, you know what? It's interesting because I feel like, part of their intro, talks a lot about the fact that they do a lot of traveling. They have fun together, right? So we saw them working out. That was cute. But he doesn't seem like he's ready to be super serious. And I think that he enjoys having fun, right? Kathy says she noticed that he does not communicate properly. I agree. And I kind of feel like he's like, we're just having a good time. This is a good time. This is a good time. He's like, she's like, well, we need to be, she's on a timeline. Like, this is all good. The trips and stuff is cool. The working out is good, but we need to be doing some serious stuff. And he's just like, if it ain't broke, why, if it's not broke, why fix it? Why do we need to fix it? And I think a lot of times, I don't know, but I'm just going to say what I think. A lot of times a man will enjoy your company and enjoy hanging out with you, but he may not see you as that next level, right? And so men really can stay with a person for a while, like years, and just stay in this having fun space because he doesn't need to move forward. He's fine. He enjoys it like it is. I guess I'm just from the old school. If a person wants to take it to the next level, they will let you know. I told you guys years ago, my mom would say that when I was younger. I would be like freaking out about, this was in high school, in high school, when you're first starting a date and stuff, I'd be like, oh, this guy hasn't called me. And my mom would say to me, Christal, if he wants to talk to you, he will call you. If he wants you to be his girlfriend, he will let you know. If he wants to marry you, he will let you know. If he does not let you know, that's because he does not want to. And I think it sounds simple, but I feel like it's true. I feel like when a man wants to do that, he will let you know. So that's kind of why I feel like Put a Ring on It is kind of, it's a weird show because to me, if a person wants to put a ring on it, they will, and you telling him it's time and we need to, and you should have already, and I'm going to leave if you don't. It really is like, it's kind of like something is saying, that's not what I want, and you're trying to convince him that it should be, and so that's why for me, I would never come on this show. I like the show, but it's like there's nothing you don't need to go to therapy to share with a guy that it's time for him to marry you. Now, what's interesting is these couples have been dating for 2 years. So Joya and Josh have been dating for 2 years. Also, Catherine and Rick, and also Catherine and Ricky, and also Dunbar and Chance. Everybody has been dating for 2 years, which, I'm not mad. 2 years is enough time, in my opinion, for a man to know if he sees you as a wife. Because you guys know, I'm sure that every woman on this live has had a man tell them very early on, I'm going to marry you, right? And a lot of them say it, but don't mean it. But a lot of them say it and they're serious. It just may not be the one that you want. But you've heard a man say that. So I don't think you need, depending on if he's ready. Now, I'm not saying that if he's young, like if he's in his 20s and he just, getting his career and stuff like that, that's different because he may not be ready. But once a man is at this age, these men are all over 35, around there. It doesn't take, a long time for him to know if that's how he sees you. We see Dunbar's like, this is who I want to marry, right? So I don't think it's too short of a period of time, but I think that they're not being honest about the fact that if he don't want to do that, it's because he doesn't want to do that. Miss Iffy says Joy's behavior was very childish after the date. She wanted a reaction and very double standard. I agree. I feel like after she went on the date, let's talk about that because, that's why I said I feel like they could be petty, right? Because you guys remember with Charlie and Otis last season, Charlie would go on a date with someone and she really just wanted to make Otis jealous, right? And then he even did the same thing with her. He might have been doing a little bit more than just making her jealous. I'm not sure, but they're still together, so who knows? But I feel like it was very much like tit for tat with them, how they even used the people that they were dating. And I feel like that has the potential to be the case with Joya and Joshua, or Jasha. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but that is what we saw. So we saw her go on her date, and then she could not wait to come back and tell him, about the guy kissing her hand. And I'm just like, and I know production wants him to do certain things, right? But this whole conversation about, what he did and what, and then, oh, well, what if I go on a date, what I can do? And then it was very childish. But I do think that that's also realistic. I mean, these shows are based in reality. A lot of times you're trying to force somebody's hand by showing them, oh, well, somebody else, could like me. Edna says, I believe she really liked her date. I don't think so. I think that she was being flirtatious and she was being pleasant because I think that's who she is. But the fact that she ran back and told him that and tried to like get him to be jealous and get him to be, feel some kind of way, to me, I believe she didn't really like the date. It really was more about him. And the cameras are there, he's going to see this date, he's going to watch it, so I don't think that she was really into the date. I don't think that the guy that they hooked her up with was a good fit for her. I mean, he was nice and all, but that just didn't really sit. It didn't really make sense to me. He seems very, very different as far as his vibe, and even he seemed a little older than her. I didn't see that as a love connection at all. But I do think that because he's very, he got swag and he was very much a gentleman, and he's very much, displaying those leadership qualities. I think that she saw it as an opportunity to show Jasha, oh, well, this is what can happen if you don't get in line. Like if we don't move towards the next level, you could end up losing me. But I don't think she really was into him at all. Like I said, I think he was success mindset, same exact thing. I think she was trying to force Bay to be jealous, thinking he would make the decision she wanted. Absolutely. And it's easy to do that with someone like the guy she went out with, because he was like, oh, I'm going to do this. And what about me? Like he was, one of those take charge guys. He should have been on a date with Chance, because I guarantee you, if he went to Dunbar's house, it wouldn't have went down like that. The Queen Revolution says, is Kojo coming? Yes, Kojo is coming. He is coming, but we got our times mixed up, and so he should be jumping in any second. Let me text him right now and let him know that we are waiting. I told him just to jump on when he was ready. Let me see if I can get him to jump on, because we will only like to do these for an hour, but I promise you guys next week we'll both be on. Hold on, texting him now. But yeah, I wish they should have had him go to take out Chance. Now that would have been interesting. That would have been, I guarantee you he wouldn't have brought any food back. I guarantee you he would not have brought food back. He would not have brought a bag. He would not have brought food back. I appreciate that, Casey, but I love, oh, there he is. Yay, he's coming. All right. Kojo said he's coming. So we're going to let him come on and talk about his thoughts on the three couples. I have given you guys, my thoughts. And so I want him to, jump on and share his perspective. But yeah, I don't think that any of the girls, and you guys, I think this is kind of like real life, right? So I think with women, you come on the show, and if a woman comes on a show like that, she's not really trying to leave her man. She's probably trying to get him to do what she wants. And a lot of times women try to manipulate men by showing them how much attention and how other men want to be with you, right? And it's like that doesn't really work. Like I remember when I was married the first time, every time I would leave my house, of course a guy is going to try to talk to you. But the thing about it is, usually a guy will try to talk to you, but that doesn't mean that he wants to he does not want to be responsible for you, right? There's two different things. He may want to take you out. He may want to, enjoy being around you and enjoy your company, but that does not mean that he wants to, be responsible for paying your bills. He doesn't want to be responsible for, the expectations that you have on your man. He don't want any of that. He just wants to have fun. So yeah, Kojo said he's coming in 2 minutes. So yeah, I think women have to realize the difference. And I think when you're in a relationship, you can get it twisted by thinking, every time I leave the house, somebody's trying to holler at me, or I know this person wants me. Just because they're attracted to you does not mean that they want to be responsible for the expectations that you have in a relationship, right? Mawadi said, let's give Kojo a side eye for his tardiness. He's not tardy. Literally, we just got our times crossed. I'm in Atlanta and he is in London. So we are totally different sides of the world, but we do this great together. And I'm super excited for us to be back this season. So let's add my boy to the chat. Let me add him in right here. There he is.
Hey. Sorry, I got the times. I'm sorry, UK, and I forgot that we 4 hours, not 5. So I apologize, guys. Sorry, audience boys. Sorry.
All good. We know when next week we'll be back. We'll get it right and we'll be back. This was just the first episode. So first of all, I have missed this. I've missed our going back and forth and recapping.
Listen, and there was so much to recap. That's why I'm so angry. I missed it. Listen, there's so much recap. But mainly, I don't know, who were you last talking about? I'll follow on from you. Where were you last?
Well, you know what? I literally went through all the 3 couples. So I would love for you. What I could do is I'm going to pull up the pictures. I started with Chance and Dunbar, and I know I want you to give your perspective. So we're going to go back to Chance and Dunbar and kind of let you run through it and say what you thought. There they are right there. That was the first couple that kind of took the
Listen, where do we start with this one? I don't know if you said it, but first and foremost, I wasn't sure why they were on the show. I'm not gonna lie to you. The way they were behaving, not because they were being arrogant or anything like that, but just because I was like, what's the problem? Because I'm so confused. And all the things that he wanted her to do, she was already kind of doing already. So right. I was confused as to what you were actually arguing about. So at first I was like, okay, wait. So he wants her to be more submissive, want her to be more domesticated. And then as soon as they're going to go on a date, the first thing she does is pull out a plate from the microwave. And I'm like, wait, so is she not doing this or is she doing it? You said you wanted to rub your feet. She says she's rubbing your feet. You want the house to smell good? She says she's putting on smells for you and candles. What is it, sir? What is it that you are asking for? Because it sounds like you want the impossible task of asking for something that you're already getting. And I don't know how much more you can pull from the situation. So I was a little bit confused at first as to that particular instance. What I will say is, I think every season when I see this happen, I'm almost asking myself if it's real or not. And what I mean by that is when the men come in and another man comes in to take their woman on a date, the way that they get so energized. Like Dunbar was energized, okay? Yeah. And he was doing all his territorial behaviors, put on the shoe right in front of his face and making it hold on to me as I pray, and then saying a prayer that was threatening, by the way, was threatening what he was saying, and all that kind of jazz, asking if he's got mother and father in his life and stuff. It was a whole lot of, Jumbalina that was going on with him. So, and I always ask myself the question, are they acting? Or this is really how you behave? Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, this is not a normal situation where you're on the street and someone just randomly starts talking to your woman. This is like literally you're being told they're coming to take your woman on a date and they're going to return her back.
Right.
So it always shocks me the way that some of these men behave, but this is generally how they generally do behave. They generally do behave like this. So, it was interesting. And if that is the truth, then that means we are seeing something that could be an issue. And maybe the reason why Chance has not taken a chance on this love in marriage. Because maybe, sometimes what happens to people, sometimes people stay in relationships longer than they have to, knowing they don't want to go any further with the relationship as in marriage, but they stay in it.
Yeah.
And so when you don't test the reason why they haven't gone further, they'll just keep staying in a situation. Because as for now, Chance, you love what he does. You love the fact that he's territorial. What is the reason why we're here then? You don't need the show to prove that you want to get married. Just get married. So there must be something else that we're not seeing, or something that hasn't been encountered as of yet, as to why Chance hasn't agreed to his proposal, because he's ready to go.
He's ready. Yeah. Yeah.
He's ready to go.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is that weird? Do you think that's weird, that aspect?
I agree with you. Let me ask you this, because it's one of the things that we talked about earlier. I felt like he was low-key disrespectful, and they asked, why did Phil bring back the food? And I said, I don't care if production told him to bring back the food or not. There's no way a guy that was, confident in himself would actually have done, even if production asked him. What did you think about that? Because I agree that Chance was like egging it on, which was not cool, which is, again, says even if it is a dynamic where he takes control, she's cool with it, because she defended it even when, Dr. Stacii Jae said that it was too much. What did you think about him? The prayer was threatening, but even saying, bring me back some food, and then doing the most when they return back to the house.
See, I'm petty. I said this to my audience. I'm petty. I would have brought I would have brought the food half eaten. You know what I mean? Like I would have been petty about it if I was going to do it. But yes, by him bringing the food, what it actually signaled to Chance specifically as well is that you know what, Dunbar was right. You are a young boy.
Yep.
Right. And I'm not saying that and I think this is why oftentimes, and I'm not this is not necessarily saying this situation, but this is why sometimes men end up fighting, because in this instance, we are all looking at the young man like, well, he just sunned you. You just gonna have that.
Yeah.
And you've kind of had it. And I'm not saying that he should retaliate in any situation, but bringing back the food further endorsed the fact that you are a small boy. And maybe if the date had gone swimmingly well, like so well, we might have forgotten the food that you're going to bring at the end, because we might have seen it differently. Like, oh, okay, he really trying to rile things up because he knows he's got his girl. But none of that happened. So it's like, with that, additionally with the food, you got sunned before that. It kind of showing that not only are you a small boy, but it also shows there's a bit of fear there. And that doesn't give protective vibes to Chance, who's already got somebody who's willing to almost die for her. And you coming in tame, it's not going to send any good signals to Chance, to be honest.
No, I agree 100%. It just he did get sunned, and he went along with it. And even on the date, you could just tell his whole confidence was shook. Like Dunbar really set it up, and it went exactly as he wanted. Let me ask you, before we go to the next couple, what did you think of the difference of Dr. Stacii Jae? Because you and I would actually do these with Dr. Nicole. Dr. Nicole we didn't always agree with her 100%, but I thought she brought a lot of wisdom. So what did you think of our very, very jazzy Dr. Stacii Jae joining?
Listen, I'm not even mad. She came in strong, and she stamped her foot on this particular show, and she made sure she knew that she was there. Okay. I think it's going to take me a little bit of time to get used to, because I'm used to the analogies. I'm used to Dr. Nicole with the little stories to bring it in and bring in, tie it all in. Stacey a little bit more straight, a little bit more direct. And hopefully that will work for the couples. Hopefully we'll also get to see her do what we saw with Dr. Nicole, we saw with the couples, which is the one-on-ones where there's genuine conversations about breaking things down, and it doesn't turn into a TV gimmick. That's what I'm hoping that's going to happen from then onwards, because this was a great moment. She told Dunbar off, and I think it was perfect. But I hope that they get the one-on-one sessions, and we get to see her really dissect and break down, like we saw with Dr. Nicole, and bring them into some type of alignment, rather than it just being another moment to kind of give us a TV moment. I hope that's what we're going to see in the next few weeks as well of her. So, I'm not mad at it. I am sad that Dr. Nicole has left. But yeah, it's good. Change is always good, they always say. So
a little shake up.
How do you feel about it?
I feel like what I felt like is that there were a lot of complaints because of the situation with Shorty Mac and Kenneth last year. With that being even though it was like, hype and a lot of people talking about it online, that was kind of a serious situation. And I think that, and even Charlie and Otis, there was just a lot of feedback. So I think they shook it up for the fact that they just got so much. I mean, that was really a unfortunate situation for someone to come in and be using the show to really deal with a domestic violence situation. Really is not, it wasn't
Yeah,
fair, you know what I mean? But
it wasn't fair.
I think that kind of had a little bit to do with it. I'm just speculating, you know what I mean? Because I know that I'm here in Atlanta and I know that there was a lot of negativity around the way it was handled, right? So Janika says we missed the ponytail. I'm with Kojo. I love Dr. Nicole had some, I mean, it would take her a while to get it out, but she had a lot of wisdom and she would literally break things down with analogies that were so on point. And I really like the way I learned some things from her. I really learned that men have the ability to heal family issues. That was so powerful what she showed us with Shay and Alfonso. And so I really hope that, but like I said, Stacii is a good friend. And I know that she's been counseling women. One of the things I think that people didn't see is always everybody get held accountable in front of us, right? And so I think that, you know, seeing Stacii kind of go in with Dunbar and not play with it. She didn't play with it. She went straight to it. I think it's a refreshing change.
Refreshing.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
All right, so now, Kojo, we got to talk about Ricky and Catherine because I already know. I can't wait to hear your break.
Ooh, I think she's popped off, guys. She's her internet must have taken her out, guys.
It took me out. I was so excited. It took me out.
It took you out.
I was excited because I know when I watched this clip, I was like, oh no, Kojo gonna get him all the way together because I don't feel like this man is healed. I'm gonna play this clip and then I want you to give us your perspective on Ricky and Catherine.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
His past experience is holding us back.
I'm really not saying no to marriage. I just want to take my time. Just got to be patient.
And that's why sometimes I do question our compatibility.
Long story short, I've been through pretty much anything you could think of.
Okay.
You know what? This situation, you know, is it's an interesting one. I think they have a history already. They have 10 years as friends, I believe, as well, right? So that makes things a little bit more complicated. The reality is he is scared to get married again. But not only is he scared, it's also now affecting also their intimacy as well, right? That's what she was saying. So we've got a situation where this man is giving me, I'm no longer here. Not because she's done anything wrong per se, but it's almost as if he's checked out. You know, when I look at him sitting at, you know, with her at times, and sometimes we see the little sofa bits as well, it feels like he's not necessarily all here. And I think that's to do with what he's experienced in that past marriage. That past marriage has taken it all the way out of him. But you know what? He got a little resurgence probably back when he entered the relationship with his friend, you know, and now they're lovers. But once that honeymoon phase goes, you've got to deal with you. And now that has caught up with him. And now the question about marriage isn't the issue. It's the trigger word of marriage. It's the idea of marriage again, once more, going back into that space again. Because what's the difference between you and doing marriage and doing this is that the fact is there's no trap, there's no back door. Once you go in, you're in. You know what I mean? And that not dealing with what you've experienced in the past is causing him to withdraw from her. And if he doesn't sort, this is a him issue at the moment. It's a him issue that if he doesn't get counseling for, if he doesn't get some therapy for, if he doesn't get some help in terms to be able to release what he did for what he's experienced, he's going to forever hold this girl in a prison that is going to slowly rot her away. And the biggest issue I heard when she was mentioning it is that he felt like he did everything right in that past relationship, in that past marriage, and then got cheated on, and then got financial issues. And it's like, everything I did right, it still landed me in the wrong position. How come? And the reality is, unfortunately, sometimes in these situations, you can do everything quote unquote right, but the person has a free will to do whatever they want. And at those times when it does happen like that to you, you just have to just brush it off and get back up on the horse again, and move on. but
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like he's done that. And I think he needs to go and just speak to the therapist or counselor. This should have been done before he entered the relationship with her, but he probably didn't even realize how much baggage he was carrying. And now he's struggling to give her the pieces that she needs in order to maintain in this relationship. So it's sad because honestly, I look at him and it's like a shell of himself. It's not him.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because I feel like Michelle said big best friend energy, but do you think that it could be safe? Because to me, when you're hurt, right? And you could tell he's hurt. Like he looks hurt even in his video. And when you're watching him sit there and talks about it, you could tell he's still hurt. A friend is a safe place. It doesn't have the same passion. Someone you've been friends with for 10 years, it allows you to not have to be 100% vulnerable, because you know this person, and it's not, there's not the fear of being taken advantage of. It's a very safe thing, but it also doesn't necessarily mean he's 100% in it. It just could be something to do, right? Do you think that? I mean, I just feel like with a man, it's hard to be friends with a woman for 10 years that you were passionate about, right? This is a safe thing for him.
Yeah, I think there definitely is a safety here. I mean, he found a soft cushion to land on when probably from after that divorce, or and it probably was easier to go into that with that person, because again, you're not having to be emotionally stretched, because you know this person, you have a history with this person knows what you've gone through. Like, you have that safety and that comfort zone, which means more than likely you might never have had to actually work on the parts of yourself, because ordinarily this person accepts you as you are because they know who you are. And because of that comfort, we're now in a position where she's asking you to stretch, but as she's asking you to stretch, that's not how you guys started, number one. And number two, now she's asking you to stretch, it's beginning to expose parts of you, like the parts that you don't want to necessarily deal with. And you're probably saying to yourself, if she stretches me anymore, I'm probably going to snap and break, because I haven't got much to stretch for. You're asking for this marriage thing. Why do we need to have marriage? We've enjoyed it up until this point in time. It's been good so far. So why change a good thing?
Right. Now, speaking of why change a good thing, I feel like that is definitely the case with Joya and Joshua. Like, I feel like with him, he's like, hey, we good. Like, we're traveling. We're having a good time. What is the problem? And she's the one that it feels very much like a heaviness to her. Like, we're supposed to be married. We're doing all this stuff. She has a child already. I feel like she definitely wants things to move to the next level. But to me, I don't feel like he's not really as invested, in my opinion. He also seemed, they seem a little bit petty. I feel like this could be a petty situation.
Listen.
Yeah.
You said it first and best.
Little Charlie and Otis-ish, by the way. Because I was like watching her try to bait him with what happened on the date. And then him say, oh, well, what about, what happens on my date? I was like, we going right back. We're going right back to the pettiness. What was your thoughts of the two of them?
You just took the words right out of my mouth. It is Otis and Charles again, all over. And I still haven't recovered from them last season. So, but do you know what? Yes, absolutely. And the reason I knew straight away that she was a problem, and then I realized she was a problem after, because obviously when they had a conversation, but I knew she was a problem when there's a little montage where she's, touching up her dress to say, and she says, I'm so excited to go on these dates. Now, everyone else says, I'm a bit apprehensive, a bit nervous. She says she's excited. I said, yeah, she's ready to show this boy that, listen, you going to marry me or not, but you're going to feel it. And that's when I knew it's going to be trouble. Yeah. And then when you see her on the date, old boy is not somebody, I don't think this is a guy she would ever date. Can I be honest with you? I don't think it's a guy she would ever date.
Never.
But the fact that he was willing to give her the attention that she needed in that moment to get what she wanted to get out of the situation. That's why she out here trying to dab his face and allowing her to kiss his hand and everything like that, not setting the proper boundaries in that aspect. You knew what you were doing. You knew what you were doing. And then for you to come home and then sit on the sofa all cute. And this is that's why I said it gave me remnants slightly different of Charlena, but still the same. It's like, why when you brought the flowers home, what were you thinking? Y'all thinking that it's gonna be comfortable? It's not. And the same thing here. She came and sat on the thing, and she wanted to bait him, so she told him straight. Well, the bait was the thing was cute. It was nice. Oh, but I gotta tell you something. I mean, he did, kiss my hand. She could not wait to give it to him good. You know what I mean? And him being true to the game, he said, all right, cool, no worries about it. He was a gentleman, right? Yeah, and he locked her in. So he's like, he was a gentleman, right? And she's like, yeah, he's a gentleman. Fantastic. I'm a gentleman too, by the way. I'm gonna kiss some hands and I'm gonna dab some mouths as well. So they are both gonna be game playing, but the reality, they got a real situation here. They got a real situation here, which is, do you want kids in a specific amount of time? If not, this needs to end now because we've got a time limit. Yeah. So Josh and is it Josh? Josh and
Joya. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. That decision needs to be done now. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? But I'd prefer you guys get married first. That's my personal opinion. But yeah, if we're gonna have a kid, decide now. But the reality is, if he's been dragging his feet all this while now, having a kid now, it's gonna be resentful in the future. I'd say that she needs to leave now.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because I said this. I agree with you 100%. And it's interesting because we don't always agree 100%, but because you usually look at it from the guy's perspective, and I'm looking at it from the woman's perspective. But my thing is this, and I feel like the situation, especially with Joya and Joshua, and also Catherine and Ricky, they've both been dating for 2 years, right? Actually, so have Dunbar and Chance. 2 years, and the woman in the last two situations is putting the pressure on the man. If the man hasn't said to you he's thinking about marriage or he's taking that, there's a reason. I don't know. And so to me, I feel like I enjoy talking about this show. I enjoy watching it. But to me, even going through all the therapy and everything, if the man hasn't decided within himself that he sees you as a wife, this is not going to change that.
100%. 100%. It's the threat of somebody leaving doesn't often work as the reason why the person now decides to change their mind. And really, do you want them to change their mind after you threaten to leave? You want them to come to that conclusion by themselves. I mean, in rarer cases it does work, but in most cases it doesn't work in the long term. He hasn't tried to marry before. He's not in that space of marriage. Even Dunbar's trying to marry his woman, and you're behind, and you don't want to. So clearly we have two different things, because if you, and again, I'm also asking the question as well, because she mentioned the baby rather than the marriage. Yeah. So she's taking the cart before the horse. Yeah. So why are you guys on the show? Because clearly your objective is not marriage. Your objective is to have a child. We're not here for marriage. You don't need to be on the show. Yeah. I mean, that's the reality of things. And what it's going to expose is mindsets being warped and wrong. I'm not saying that, listen, people shouldn't have their kids whenever they want to have them, but I am kind of saying that, so I'm going to say it. But I'm saying in this instance, you got your priorities the wrong way round, sis. Yeah. You want to be getting his commitment and then getting a child, because we want to be in stable relationships when we have these children, if at all possible. If we can actually, be a part of that process. Get the commitment first. Get somebody who's committed, and then do that. Don't let the passion for wanting kids to put you in a position where now, you're now having to do this alone. If he decides, I'm not really on this, it's not really my thing. And then that's what you get men going, oh, you trapped me and da-da-da. So
that's the part I was gonna say, that resentfulness of a man when he just goes ahead and gives in because you've beat him down or you've wore him out. That doesn't work good. That doesn't work well in the long run, because you don't want anyone to feel resentful. Even with Chance and Dunbar, with her saying she don't want to be out of the club, she's still enjoying a hot girl summer. Let her enjoy it, because if you try to force it out of her, she's going to end up resenting you for it. And I think in any situation, but especially, I don't know, I just feel like especially with women trying to convince men, because I think a woman is a little bit easier to, persuade. But if a man is not talking about marriage and he's not there yet, leave him be, because you're going to let it. You're gonna end up with someone that resents you, or his actions are. After you get what you want, you're going to realize it is the worst thing possible because she's going to make you pay for it, and you're not
Yep.
going to be treated the way you want to be treated. You want him to be excited about asking you to be his wife, not be resentful. Like, we ain't getting no younger. We might as well do it and have the energy that we want. That jagged edge stuff was wrong. It was wrong.
Trust me. You just spoke a word there, Terrell. And you're absolutely right. I think, you don't want to just do this just because time is running out. And we're in a generation now where we are very hedonistic. We are very self, and what unfortunately people will do what they want to do. They want to choose what works best for them.
Yeah.
And that's fair, but it creates a lot of problems, and relationships are one of those problems. You cannot try and put the cart before the horse, So, look for the person who's committed to you, rather than trying just to drag somebody along the way, when in reality the person doesn't really want to be there. He wants to enjoy her.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to commit to a marriage. And maybe it's just her he doesn't want to commit to, but sis, make a choice. He's not going to commit to the marriage, so
No, and making him jealous is not going to work, because I was just saying, with a man that wants to enjoy you and a man that wants to be responsible for your expectations are two different things. So there's a lot of men in the street that will enjoy your, how you look and are attracted, and your presence and your energy and perhaps even your body. But when you want the expectations, he's like, wait a minute, keep the man you got at home, because I don't want to do all that. I just wanted to be able to, look at it and talk to it and flirt with it, but I don't really want it. Like, no. So you can't really go on that,
Yeah.
Well,
you can't.
I'm excited. I'm just excited that we're going to be doing this again this season. And actually, what we need to do next week is we need to talk about, I know we talked about this, we need to talk about Put a Ring on It, and then we also need to recap the foolishness that is happening on Ready to Love.
Because a whole lot of buffoonery. A whole lot of buffoonery.
It's a lot of foolishness, and I got some intel. I got some intel on that, so I'm going to hit you offline, and then next Thursday we'll reconvene, and we'll talk about Ready to Love. We'll talk about Put a Ring on It, and I still want us to I want your perspective on the book. I quoted you in the book, and that was from our conversations on the recap for Put a Ring on It last season. So we want to talk about that. But you guys, please make sure to tune in next week. We'll put up a notification and let you guys know exactly what time and get our times right. So you get both of us the entire time. But I thank my handsome cohorts from across the pond for joining me. As always, we'll be back. But I'm excited about next week, because we got to talk about Ready to Love first. We got to get that out the way.
You're telling me. I look forward to it.
All right. Thank you so much. You guys tune in next week, next Thursday. Like I said, we'll put up the times. Kojo, kisses to you, and I will talk to you. I'll hit you offline shortly. Okay.
Appreciate
All right. You guys have a good one, and we'll be back next week. Bye-bye.